Here we go. Hello guys, welcome back. It's still a bit extra, I don't know, I'm still trying to figure it out. I get very excited talking about food, and I feel like if there's one topic that everybody enjoys, it's food. So today we're gonna talk about, you guessed it, food. Today we're gonna talk about Indian food. Now obviously one video would not be enough to cover everything there is to say about Indian food, so consider this as a sort of introduction to food in India. Number one, food is a huge part of culture and life in India, meaning if you're ever invited to go to somebody's house, they will definitely offer you some snacks with some drinks or tea, coffee, or whatever. They will feed you, and they will feed you a lot, like trust me, a lot. And of course you can refuse, but in some situations it's considered to be a little rude to refuse. So your best bet here is to just go with it and eat as much as you can and keep eating. So, you know, yeah, if you don't eat enough, or if you don't finish your plate, people are gonna think you're not enjoying the food, and do your best to eat the food. Number two, in India, we eat with our hands. Whether you're in North India, South India, West, East India, anywhere in India, essentially, you eat with your hands. There are a few instances where you might get a spoon as well, although majority of the time you just eat with your hands. So if you go to a restaurant and they don't bring you a fork and knife, that's probably because you're not getting any, unless you ask for it. You can always ask for it, obviously. I've had plenty of instances where I'm out with Indian friends and they bring a fork or a spoon just for me, because they're like, poor white girl, yeah, she's gonna have to eat with her hands. In cases where you're eating maybe like a vegetable dish with some bread, whether it's chapati, roti, naan, anything, you'll tear a little piece of bread, then you'll pick it up with your hand and then you'll just eat it. And if you're eating a rice-based dish, you sort of scoop it all together, and then you create this sort of like, I'm gonna try to demonstrate, you create this sort of like, it's really hard to explain. You create this like little spoon with your mouth, and you push all the rice and all the sabzi, or I mean vegetables or curry or whatever it is that you're eating, you push it all up there, and then it definitely takes some practice. I'm still working on that skill, and people will not judge you for it. If anything, they'll be very impressed that you're trying to eat with your hands. So I guess it's like, just think of it as the first time you ate with chopsticks and how that felt. That's probably how it's gonna feel. A little clumsy, a little odd, but you get used to it. And yeah, also there is this stereotype or preconceived idea, I don't really know what it is, but a lot of people think, especially foreigners and travelers that come to India, that it's rude to eat with your left hand. Truth be told, I think it's fine. I've seen plenty of people using their left hand. Sometimes you'll even use both of your hands, because if you have a piece of bread and you want to tear apart a little, like a smaller piece to grab onto some food, it's practical to use both your hands, and no one is going to get offended. I honestly don't know where that idea comes from, but if you come to India and you're left-handed, don't worry. Point number three, or as they do in India, point number three. That feels very unnatural to me, so 3. Point number 3 is that Indian food is not really a thing in India. I mean, you're gonna tell me like, yeah, no, I mean, we know, but thinking about Indian food is kind of like thinking about European food. Like, what does that mean? Yeah, you might have a lot of things in common in food across European countries, but does that mean that you can label all of it and put it under European food? I mean, it's debatable. I would say you can't, but some people do. But back to Indian food is not really a thing. I mean, India is extremely diverse when it comes to food. I tend to think that it's as diverse as like China, for instance. Food varies a lot depending on the region. Depending on where you are from, you might have been exposed to a certain type of Indian food, and that's all you've known. So the good news is when you'll come to India, you'll get to experience so many different types of food. It's gonna be amazing, trust me. There's always something new to try that's really, really awesome. Point number 4, veg versus non-veg. The idea that all Indians are vegetarian is a big misconception. You find a lot of meat here. You find regions where people eat a lot of meat, like Kerala, I think, and Assam in the northeast. So all Indians are not vegetarian, definitely not. But one thing that's for sure is that India is a very friendly country for vegetarians, and it's very easy to spot vegetarian options because they've created a label for it. When you go to restaurants or when you go to a grocery shop or anywhere and you look at food items, usually they'll have a little dot on them and it'll either be green or red. What that means is veg or non-veg. So essentially, if you're a vegetarian and you're looking for vegetarian options, just look for the little green spot. One thing to note though is that most people here consider eggs to be non-vegetarian. Finally, what I think a lot of you will be interested in if you're looking to plan a trip to India, and what a lot of people ask me about, is point number 5, food safety in India. What is safe to eat and what is not so safe to eat. To put it in a nutshell, is food in India safe? Yes and no. Like everywhere else in the world, I feel like that would be, that's gonna be my answer about everything. Now, if you're coming from Europe or North America or any other region where food is very different from food in India, where maybe dishes don't have a lot of spices or have a lot of chilies and things like this, then yeah, you kind of run a higher chance of getting an upset stomach. Does that mean you're gonna be sick the whole trip? No, of course not. You know why? Because I'm gonna give you tips. First and foremost, drink bottled water or purified water. Basically, if you go to any restaurant that's not like a little street food stall, they will serve you water that is safe to drink. So if you go to like a standard restaurant in India and they bring you water out of like a water jug, don't worry, it's safe to drink, you can drink it. But if you've just arrived, you want to be on the safe side, just order some bottled water. That's completely fine. Another thing related to water, avoid ice cubes and fruit juices. The reason being that they're made with water, but you don't know what water they're made from. So the safest bet is just to ask for your iced coffee without ice and pass on that fresh mango juice that looks so delicious. Or get it from a very fancy place where you feel like you can trust the ice cubes. That's also an option. But anyways, if it's warm, like ice cubes will really mess up your throat, so I would just skip the ice cubes, it's fine. Another thing related to water, which is very famous in India, is a little street snack, I guess you could say, called pani puri or golgappa in the north. Basically, they're empty on the inside. The way you have them is that you sort of like tap on the top and you create a little hole, and then you pour sweet or salty water inside, and then you have it in one go. These snacks are delicious, but these snacks, in terms of food poisoning, girl. But if you really want to try them, what you can do is you can look for places that make them with mineral water, and usually it'll be advertised. Another thing, if you're eating out, avoid any raw vegetables, things like salad, because once again, they're washed with water and you don't know what kind of water they're washed with, so just avoid that. When in doubt, stick to vegetarian options. Most places serve very decent meat, that's not the issue. But if you're not feeling it, if you have any doubt in your mind, then just go for the vegetarian option. That's always like a safer bet. If you're going out and you want to have any street food, I would recommend sticking to the vegetarian options always. I know people who have had non-veg street food and they're still alive, but you know, if you just come and your stomach is not used to it, just stick to the vegetarian options. They're delicious anyways. You won't even feel like you're missing anything. So if you're getting something that is fried, take a little peek at the oil, see if it's not like brown or black, because then that might mean that the oil's been used for too long at this point. So just maybe go to the next stand. The two main points and takeaways about food safety in India is one, build it up slowly. AKA, if you're fresh off the boat and you've just arrived, it's your first time in India, you're not really used to eating dishes that have a lot of spices, chilies that are a bit heavier than maybe what you eat at home, etc. Just take it easy, just take it slowly and like build it up. So like don't go for the street food the first day. The second thing, and I think that's the most important, stick to these tips that I just gave you and then don't worry about it. What I mean by that is that if you come to India expecting that you will get sick because of the food, you're probably gonna get sick. Maybe not because of the food, but our brains are funny this way. If you anticipate that you're gonna get sick, and if you're so worried about getting sick, then every time you're gonna eat something, your body is not gonna feel great, because if you're eating something being a little stressed out about the possibility of getting sick, take your precautions and then don't worry about it. And then just see what happens. And if you do get sick, it's okay. We've all been there. You will survive. You will come out strong, and then when you're back on your feet, you'll go back to trying these amazing dishes. So I think that wraps up my introduction to Indian food. I hope you learned something new. Maybe not. Let me know. This weekend I actually went to a festival called Zomaland. This is not sponsored. I wish it was, honestly. Zomato hit me up. It was organized by Zomato, which is one of the biggest food apps in India. For French, it's sort of a mix between Deliveroo and La Fourchette, essentially. I took a few videos, so I'll just insert them right now. And yeah, that's it for me, guys. Okay, bye guys. Bye.
Alright, Prane, what are you eating right now?
I'm having a plate of kulfi, pista kulfi, which is made of pistachios. This delicacy right there, century-old Indian dessert,
Right.
with faluda, is it?
That's correct.
And it's little strings of goodness. I don't know what's in it, but it's really good.
This is the first time you're having it.
I mean, I've had kulfi like every time I board a plane, because there's a kulfi stand in Delhi airport. But this is my first time having kulfi with faluda. So, cheers to that.